Today we have more important PlayStation topics to discuss about, but before jumping into the topics, I want to share you another news. Cyberpunk 2077's senior gameplay designer announced that he is leaving CD Projekt Red. Andrzej Zawadzki joined the gaming studio 8 years ago and worked on The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt as a QA tester before he was promoted to lead Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay unit. The announcement arrives after a tumultuous year for CD Projekt Red. The company faced multiple death threats after delaying Cyberpunk 2077 multiple times, and when the game did release it was plagued by game-breaking glitches. The game was so buggy that players began to demand refunds, leading Sony to pull the title from the PlayStation Store, where it still has yet to return. CD Projekt Red vowed to fix Cyberpunk 2077's issues with a series of patches, but the updates were delayed after a cyber attack crippled the studio. Zawadzki announced his departure on Twitter, saying that his journey with CD Projekt Red was an honor and a pleasure. He joined CD Projekt Red as a QA tester 8 years ago and worked on The Witcher 3 and its DLC. In 2016, he began working on Cyberpunk 2077 as a junior gameplay designer and later became the game's senior gameplay designer in March 2020, just a month ahead of the game's initial release. Zawadzki did not give a reason for his departure or what he plans on doing in the future. Zawadzki was one most vocal CD Projekt Red employees to speak out when the company received death threats after delaying Cyberpunk 2077 for third time. He told his followers on Twitter that the threats were absolutely unacceptable and just wrong, and that game developers are people just like you. Zawadzki has been relatively quiet on social media since January, though he voiced support for Anthem's BioWare team after it was announced that Anthem Next was cancelled. It is unclear will take Zawadzki's former role as Cyberpunk 2077's lead gameplay designer. CD Projekt Red still has plans for Cyberpunk 2077, as it intends to improve the game through patches, release upgraded versions for the PS5 and Xbox Series X, and release free and paid DLC. Cyberpunk 2077's patch 1.2 is supposed to arrive soon, though CD Projekt Red has not announced an official release date. The update is aimed at changing police response time, as well as improved dodging and driving mechanics. Many fans hope to see a rebooted version of Cyberpunk 2077 with improved mechanics, similar to BioWare's cancelled Anthem Next. While CD Projekt Red has already delayed its planned patches, it is not difficult to imagine that the company can eventually release a version of Cyberpunk 2077 that meets fan expectations. Now jumping into the main, according to a new report, Sony is going to shut down the PlayStation Store for the PlayStation 3, PSP, and PlayStation Vita. While many gamers have moved on to the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, there are still those who are regularly playing their PS3, as well as their PSP and PS Vita handhelds. All three of the devices support digital game downloads, with the PS3 and PS Vita especially leaning into digital gaming, with some of their titles available exclusively through their digital stores. Sony has kept the PlayStation Store active on these platforms for 15 years, but it seems as though they will soon be shut down. According to a report by The Gamer, sources close to the situation have indicated that Sony is shutting down the PlayStation Store for PS3, PSP, and PS Vita this summer. Apparently, the PSP and PS3 PlayStation stores will be shut down on July 2nd, while the PS Vita store will still be accessible until August 27th. Once the stores are shut down, PS3, PSP, and PS Vita games will no longer be able to purchase digital games or any DLC. It's unclear at this time if there will still be the option to re-download content that has already been purchased or not. We should take this news with a grain of salt for now, as it has yet to be officially announced by Sony. However, The Gamer's sources believe that the official announcement will take place at some point later this month. If true, it will likely be upsetting news for some gamers, especially those who have been taking advantage of the PlayStation classics that are not legally available in digital form on any other platforms. Sony shutting down the PlayStation stores for its legacy platforms is an expected move, and the writing has been on the wall for some time. Last year, Sony made major PlayStation Store changes so people could no longer purchase PS3, PSP, and PS Vita digital games through mobile devices. It has also made it so credit card payments don't work on the older consoles, and instead PlayStation Store shoppers have to purchase digital codes to use instead. What makes the upcoming shutdown of the PS3, PSP, and PS Vita PlayStation stores especially disappointing is that it means that there are quite a few games that are going to be lost forever. Beyond that, it also means that it will be much more expensive for players to experience some of the classic PS1 and PSP games out there. Maybe Sony plans on bringing those titles to its newer digital storefronts, but again, nothing official has been announced. Speaking of losing things, we have another news, that a hacker claims that a possible PlayStation 4 error could render the console completely defunct if Sony ever takes down the PlayStation Network. Earlier this month, media preservation group Does It Play? Shared a PlayStation 4 error code labeled error CE 34878-0. While a quick Google search suggests that it simply means the game someone was playing has crashed, Does It Play claims that it's specifically related to the console's CMOS battery. According to them, if when the battery dies, it renders all digital files unusable without a server reconnection, and even kills disk playback. In layman's terms, the PS4 literally becomes incapable of playing any games. Hacker Lance McDonald has more recently raised awareness of the issue and further explained it. According to him, the error exists because of how trophies work. On PS4, trophies are reliant on the console's internal clock, which is part of the CMOS battery. When awarding a trophy, it checks to make sure the time the trophy was earned is correct and hasn't been altered. If it has, then the console prevents users from running games. This normally wouldn't be a problem since users can't alter the internal clock anyway, at least not without actively hacking it, but as stated earlier, the clock battery dying effectively bricks the console. For the time being, there are solutions to the problem. It's still possible to just replace the battery if it dies, and the system clock can be reset by connecting to the PlayStation Network. But as McDonald points out, what happens when Sony decides to shut the PSN down? Given the recent news about the PS3 and handheld stores shutting down, it does seem almost inevitable. While the PS4 is still a popular and commonly used console, Sony won't keep supporting it forever, and the company clearly wishes for more people to jump ship to the PlayStation 5. McDonald does suggest that the issue can be circumvented with a firmware update that lets people play games offline without trophy support, with the only caveat being, well, the lack of trophies, but he believes that Sony won't bother due to it being a low priority for the company. It still feels like something Sony needs to address at some point. The PS4 is sitting in millions of households and none of those owners will be thrilled should their console become a glorified paperweight. The whole thing only further highlights the positives of Microsoft and its Xbox Series X. A key selling point for Microsoft's console has been that it is fully backwards compatible with every Xbox One game, with Microsoft also promising continued support for the Xbox One. All in all, it's an aspect that makes the new Xbox more appealing than Sony's new hardware to many potential consumers. So then, moving aside the bad ones, one of PlayStation's most iconic systems, the PlayStation Portable, has its 16th birthday today, and we are celebrating the handheld. Every now and again, a console comes along that shows how much is possible. That sense of discovery is more pronounced where handhelds are concerned, especially when they're able to offer console-quality experiences on the go. Of the many notable handhelds out in the wild, the PlayStation Portable still holds a special place in many hearts, and it's celebrating a pretty significant birthday today. Originally released on March 24, 2005, today is the 16th anniversary of the PSP, the Sony console that helped pave the way for other handheld systems. It was the first in the line of Sony's handheld consoles, which would go on to include several other systems, like the PSP Go. It also helped make a foothold for the ill-fated PlayStation Vita, Sony's last handheld console. Fans have, of course, taken to Twitter to send out appreciation tweets for the console's anniversary. The official account for the Game Awards asked fans what their favorite game on the system was, with a wide variety of titles making appearances in the replies. One of the most consistent answers is God of War: Chains of Olympus, but handheld versions of many other iconic franchises have also been making an appearance. Elsewhere, fans have been heaping general praise on the PSP, many citing it as one of the best handheld consoles available to date. The PlayStation 3 didn't launch for more than a year after the PSP did, so the console fell into a bit of a strange, transitory window. Still, with how many people appear to remember it fondly, it's no small wonder the PlayStation brand has maintained its relevance, even if its successors didn't have quite the same impact. The console went on to sell 80 million units globally, which is no small sum. The PlayStation family of consoles is the best-selling of all time, and the PSP made a big contribution to that. The impact that the system has had is even strange in some ways, as the console used specialized UMD discs to play games and movies, which some fans don't remember very fondly due to their awkward size. Still, the lasting impact of the PSP can't be denied. Unfortunately, the PSP, PS3, and PS Vita stores will reportedly be shut down soon, which would erase a significant portion of the games available on the system. Sony hasn't confirmed anything yet, but it would be an unfortunate set of circumstances for those holding onto the system. Here's hoping that the library is able to be preserved. Now we have 2 PlayStation patents by Sony. The first one is adding backward compatibility to the PlayStation 5 in the future. When looking at the consoles side by side, there's very little to choose between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series hardware. The latter, however, does have one big advantage over their competitor: backward compatibility. That could all be about to change, however, if a recently filed patent is anything to go by. The patent in question was filed by Sony towards the end of last year and was published online a little earlier this month. It details a process which seems to be designed to allow the system to award players with trophies while playing emulated games. Which games exactly would be emulated is not made clear, although some are now speculating that this may be Sony's way of adding backward compatibility to the PlayStation 5. If this is indeed the case, it would be a huge shot in the arm for the recently released console, and would take away one of its competition's most valuable USPs. Due to the limited number of titles currently available for the next-gen consoles, backward compatibility has proven to be a huge asset for Microsoft's consoles, effectively adding thousands of titles to their libraries even before the systems were available to purchase. It is worth noting, though, that this is not the first time that Sony has filed a patent relating to the method and apparatus for awarding trophies. The Japanese company first did so in late 2016, and did so again a few years later. Even so, just the thought of being able to play their older PlayStation games on their new console should be an exciting one for PS5 owners, not to mention the thousands of people who are still trying to get their hands on the ever-elusive machines. Although many older games have been remade or remastered and more still are available digitally through the PlayStation Store, there remain tens of thousands of PlayStation games that can currently only be played on an older console. This isn't something that Xbox Series owners need worry about, though, with the machines already capable of playing the vast majority of the games released for any of their predecessors. Sony isn't the only one making moves at the moment either, with a flurry of Microsoft-related news having popped up over the past few days. The biggest is undoubtedly the company's controversial decision to rebrand Xbox Live, although the tech giant has also been linked with an acquisition of Discord as well. Having only just finished wrapping up a deal to purchase Bethesda's parent company, ZeniMax, it seems like both Microsoft and Sony are doing all that they can to emerge victorious from the latest round of the console wars. The another one is that Sony receives a patent that could automatically offer tournament play for any title by measuring achievements using the PlayStation Network. The process of setting up a video game tournament is both arduous and fraught with expenses. Many titles simply don't offer means of ensuring competitive viability. Those that do still require coordinated production teams. Sony may be able to offer a solution that will minimize both difficulty and expense based on a recent patent. Sony has found itself arguably on the back foot as of late. Microsoft, Sony's greatest competitor as far as console wars go, has picked up Bethesda and recently offered a bid to acquire Discord. Sony has long been a larger creator of console exclusivity in past generations, and Microsoft has recently been fighting back. Yet Microsoft has similarly picked up Smash.gg, an esport platform for managing competitive tournaments. Sony, ever eager to maintain its own strength, now has a solution in hand. A recently filed patent on behalf of Sony relies on the tracking of gameplay to create entire tournaments. Players will be gauged on the speed and playstyle and matched with others of similar metrics within brackets. The patent offers a wealth of admittedly esoteric data that Sony would use to allow tournaments based on the PlayStation Network infrastructure, including the automatic recording of gameplay when certain achievements are attained as a highlight of gameplay. These highlights, keyed by in-game metrics that are already in place, could automatically be posted to whichever forum or social media network is preferred. Tournaments could range from international competitions to a small tournament among a group of friends, assisted by the system automatically. Brackets could be automated or crafted by a designated tournament organizer too. This would allow TOs as much direction as preferred to allow for specific matchups against big names, or for necessary storylines within the scene. Additionally, the usage of achievements to find at what time a player's perspective should be shown if the TO prefers to broadcast the tournament, shifting perspective between competitors seamlessly. The usage of the patent would allow a far greater range of competitive gaming to the enjoyment of fans and players alike. Suddenly, a competition based on the popular Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales is more than plausible in spite of the title having no means of immediate competitive play. Likewise, figuring out who the JRPG legend within a small group of friends could finally be decided thanks to the PlayStation Network and an additional system being added to the backend. The patent, unfortunately, does not offer insight into when gamers could expect to see this system, if Sony decides to actually bring the idea to fruition in the near future. This does offer Sony a means of competitive play within the PlayStation Network, including the ability to finally compete in titles that the original developers never fathomed for competitive play, and the patent is a fascinating look into how Sony is continuing to develop an ongoing PlayStation advantage. We also have another patent that could offer latency mitigation as far as cloud-based game streaming goes, a technology many companies are embracing. The arms race between Microsoft and Sony is well underway, and gamers seem poised to benefit the most. Both corporations are attempting to create offerings to usher in the true next generation of gaming. A recent patent uncovered from Sony shows that it is looking at the frustration of gamers with cloud-based streaming latency. The current flow of breakthroughs and inventions is increasing at a drastic rate, paired equally with either obnoxious announcements or whispered rumors. Microsoft is rumored to have offered a massive bid for Discord as Sony picks up EVO, and the back-and-forth war for consumers' hard-earned coin continues unabated. Yet while the cadence seems to be of acquiring new avenues, the concern that older mediums of play will be left wayside, however briefly, is one of note. Thankfully, Sony appears to understand that yesterday's offerings need to be brought up to today's standard. A Sony patent is looking at how to handle cloud-based game streaming latency. This is an aspect that has continued to frustrate gamers ranging from the Google Stadia to Sony's PS Now on PC. It appears that Sony is taking a page from Nvidia's unique DLSS solution to handle that latency, using backup processing to render titles faster while keeping the data externally sourced. The patent notes that, in cloud-based gaming, the majority of the processes are handled by the cloud-based server. This brings the inclusion of back-end processing to streaming titles an ideal fix, as it doesn't increase the restrictions on gamers streaming said titles. Both Sony and Microsoft offer unique streaming solutions that can stream titles to various platforms for play on demand. This solution can run awry occasionally, hindered by network congestion and multiple titles demanding instantaneous reflexes that work poorly with latency. The titles running from an external source, through the internet, to the destined platforms offer multiple possible choke points of data. While the obvious solution would be to allow players to download the titles and run them locally, it appears that Sony wants to ensure control of its titles. Thus, the only actual solution from Sony, presuming that local installation is undesired, is to figure out how to make streaming of titles offer less latency. This could be a futile effort, with Google withdrew from Stadia before managing any first-party titles as reported frustration of frame rates and resolution struggling, even under ideal circumstances. The patent outlines how the backend could be used as a further workhorse for streaming titles by removing aggressive power-saving features and tasking the GPU with the expected workload. Notably, this does not solve the issue of the internet, which creates additional latency that Google notably struggled with in the Stadia. Yet if Sony can use the patent to result in a good enough solution, it could likely partake in the success Microsoft has found with the Xbox Game Pass for PC. And as our final topic, we have the Sony's Play at Home initiative with some predictions and releases of huge anticipated titles like God of War that may be calculated from the Play at Home's games giveaway order. The two main games that Sony is giving away as part of the PlayStation Play at Home program establish a pattern that could reveal the next game. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, Sony launched the PlayStation Play at Home program in 2020. The concept of the program was simple: give away high-quality PlayStation games as an incentive for people to stay home and play video games instead of going out in public and potentially spreading the coronavirus. The PlayStation Play at Home program in 2020 was met with a great deal of praise from fans, which is no surprise since Sony gave away heavy hitters like Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection and Journey. 1 year later, the world is still grappling with COVID-19, and the advice from health officials is still for people to stay home as much as they possibly can. As a result, Sony has decided to bring back the PlayStation Play at Home program for 2021, though it's going to be much larger in scale this time around. For 2021, Sony is giving away bonuses like extended Funimation trials on top of giving players a lot more free games. Sony kicked off the PlayStation Play at Home free games giveaway with Ratchet & Clank, the 2016 reimagining of the classic platforming game, which is available to claim until March 31st at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. 9 more free games will be added to the lineup come March 25th, consisting mainly of smaller scale, but well-regarded indie games as well as some of the best PlayStation VR titles available. Sony has also confirmed a free PlayStation Play at Home game for April in the form of Horizon Zero Dawn. A PlayStation 4 console-exclusive game, Horizon Zero Dawn earned critical acclaim at the time of its release for its impressive visuals and open world. It's considered one of the platform's better games, and it being free from April 19th at 8 p.m. Pacific Time to May 14th at 8 p.m. Pacific Time will no doubt be appreciated by PlayStation fans. Sony hasn't revealed its PlayStation Play at Home plans beyond Horizon Zero Dawn's launch in April, but it and Ratchet & Clank seem to set an interesting pattern. Sony has indicated that the Play at Home program for 2021 will include 4 months of giveaways, so there will likely be more free games for May and June as well, and the previously announced games could give us fans an idea of what to expect. The 9 smaller scale games are still notable for PlayStation Play at Home, but based on the pattern so far, it seems each month will consist of a big headliner game. For March, the headlining game is Ratchet & Clank, a first-party PlayStation game that has earned rave reviews, and is generally considered one of the better games in its series. And for April, the headlining game is Horizon Zero Dawn, which is similarly considered to be one of the better PlayStation games. What's interesting about Ratchet & Clank and Horizon Zero Dawn is that they both have sequels coming out in 2021. For Ratchet & Clank, the PlayStation 5 exclusive Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is set to launch June 11, 2021, marking the franchise's next-generation debut. As far as Horizon Zero Dawn goes, the sequel Horizon Forbidden West does not have a specific release date just yet, but it is still expected to come in 2021 as a cross-generational game for PS4 and PS5. While Sony should be commended for giving away free games during the pandemic, there is a possibility that it is selecting the games in hopes that they will encourage more people to buy future games from the company. It stands to reason that some people who have never played Ratchet & Clank before will check out the free Play at Home version, and then have the itch to try Rift Apart when it launches later this year. Likewise, there may be those who haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn before, and after they do, they will decide to purchase Horizon Forbidden West. These two games establish a pattern that the PlayStation Play at Home games will seemingly consist of existing PlayStation franchises that have sequels announced for 2021. Assuming that it isn't just a coincidence, this information can go a long way in helping predict the next free games. However, the pattern goes even deeper than that. For that we have to dig deeper into the release years of these games. Ratchet & Clank originally launched for the PlayStation 4 in 2016. Horizon Zero Dawn, meanwhile, launched in 2017. Assuming the next game keeps with the pattern, it seems likely that it will be a game that released in 2018. And when one looks at the big PlayStation exclusive games that launched in 2018, one title jumps out immediately. That's my all-time favorite, God of War. However, if the pattern holds, there seems to be a distinct possibility that the next free game will be none other than 2018's God of War. After all, God of War would satisfy two of the patterns that have been established by Ratchet and Clank, and Horizon Zero Dawn being the other free games. For one, God of War has a sequel coming out. A new God of War game is in development for PS4 and PS5, with the release date officially stated to be in 2021. Now, many seem to think that the God of War release date will get pushed back and the game will actually come out in 2022, but for now, Sony says that the game is coming this year. Very little is known about the new God of War game, as fans don't even know its subtitle and haven't seen any screenshots, trailers, or anything of that nature. However, more information should come to light in the months ahead, especially if the game is due for release in 2021. Regardless of if the game launches in 2021, the God of War sequel would mean God of War sticks to the pattern established by Ratchet and Clank in Horizon Zero Dawn. The game would also stick to the pattern of going in chronological order for release years. Ratchet and Clank dropped in 2016, Horizon Zero Dawn came out in 2017, and God of War was Sony's big game for 2018. Since it satisfies both patterns, it seems like the safest guess is for Sony's next PlayStation Play-at-Home game. If Sony is looking to give away 4 big games as part of the PlayStation Play-at-Home program as expected, then the patterns would point to a game that launched in 2019. Unfortunately, there aren't really any games that fit the bill. The argument could be made for Death Stranding, but it does not have an announced sequel, and it is not purely a Sony-owned game. Another possibility could be Media Molecule's Dreams, which was one of the highest-rated games of 2019, but that was its early access release. Dreams didn't have its proper launch until 2020. Guessing the 4th free PlayStation Play-at-Home game is much more difficult, though fans should keep in mind that there may not even be 4 free games. Horizon Zero Dawn is going to be free in both April and May, so maybe the 3rd free game will be free in both May and June. Therefore, Sony would keep its promise of having 4 months of giveaways. Not to mention there will probably be some other bonuses as well. And of course, fans should keep in mind that these patterns could be merely coincidence. It's entirely possible that the next big free PlayStation Play-at-Home game is going to be something completely different. It's also possible that there is no big free game next and Sony will instead focus on releasing smaller scale games for free instead. Whatever the case may be, we PlayStation fans should stand by for more information. And that's all for the video, guys. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share the video and its information. Comment your thoughts on the topics discussed and what games do you want to see in the future, and also let me know if God of War sequel will or will not be released this year. Until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.